Welcome back to GTN's Coaches Corner. We've got questions covering the minimum build-up of training for an Ironman. How is it possible to run without socks? ITB syndrome, whether to breathe through your nose or your mouth when swimming, and what difference does a pool buoy make? Well, you guys know what to do. If you have a burning question we haven't yet covered on Coaches Corner, please share it with us in the description below using the hashtag GTN Coaches Corner, and we'll add it to our list of questions. Before we crack on though, just a quick reminder to click on the notification, the bell icon and the globe to subscribe so you get all of our videos. Right, now for our first question, which comes in from Ivan Chokran, who says, hello again. I just finished my first Ironman and can't wait to run my second one, but I need to take a year's break to have some time for a normal life. If I keep up this basic level of training, what's the minimum amount of time needed in advance to start your full Ironman schedule before the race? For your first one, they say 4 months if you are already fit. But for the second one, could I get away with, let's say, 3 or 2 months? Well, Ivan, that is really going to be cutting it quite fine. I'm interested to see where you get the number 4 months of training for an Ironman, because I think most people watching this would be thinking, my goodness, it depends obviously where you're starting from, but that is a fairly short time frame. And if you've done that previously, then I guess you've proven you can do it. So you know that actually you're not going to need as long as that potentially, because you will have a certain amount of muscle memory. And I know you say you're ticking over, and it obviously depends on how much training you're doing at the moment, whether they are the sports of swim, bike and run, or you're doing some alternative training, because that will make a difference to the base that you're building. But basically, the longer you have to build up, the better you can build that base, the less likely you are to get injured, and the more you can start to improve in your next race compared to your last one. So that will make me ask, what are your goals for this next Ironman? Are you trying to just replicate what you did last time, or are you trying to take it up another level? I mean, 2 or 3 months, I would say, is really cutting it fine. That tends to be the sort of 3-month window, tends to be when you really start to hone in that training, but ideally you want to be doing the base before that. So for anyone who is new to an Ironman, we would say 6 months minimum really, but obviously you've done it already. So I would say just keep up the base that you've got at the moment and then go into more specific stuff. But really, if you can keep that to a minimum of 3 months, you'll just be able to enjoy the experience much more when it comes to race day and be able to build on your performance previously. So you still want to make sure you're factoring in, that base phase. You want to have peaks within that training. So you're not just going to do 3 months of solid, really hard training. You need to factor in an easy week and rest days. And then obviously the taper as you come in. So the last sort of 10 days or so are going to be easier training anyway. So you're losing time just before your Ironman. So if you take a step back and look at it that way, I would question, why do you want to make it shorter? Because training is part of the experience of going to an Ironman. Or at least that's how I see it. So yeah, good luck with your training. Do let us know how long you do end up training for it and how it goes. Okay, moving on to our next question, swimming related, from Lisa Jenkins. So in watching the vids, you're breathing out through your mouth. Which breathing technique is better, breathing out via the mouth or via the nose? Well, Lisa, very observant of you to watch our videos that closely. And I must admit, it's something that when you swim for a long time, you don't really think about. And some people do advise that you breathe in through your mouth, and on the whole, that's the best way for getting as much air in that short space of time when you're turning your head on freestyle. But breathing out through your nose can actually help with relaxation. However, it's often hard to actually fully exhale enough in the time frame that you have before your next breath when you're just breathing out through your nose. But it has some plus sides in the fact that breathing out through your nose stops the water going back in through your nose. Not so much of a problem on front crawl, but you will find on the underwater phase, especially if you're pushing off on your back for some reason, or if you're doing a tumble turn or a flip turn, the water does have a tendency to go up your nose. So I would advise on that occasion to breathe out through your nose. And it's just a matter of finding out what works best for you. I think actually I do a combination of both. On the turn, I'll do both, but then when I'm actually swimming, I just do my mouth because I find that's more efficient. But again, when it does come to the exhale, it's about trying to do that as a trickle breath. So lasting the whole time from when you take that in breath until you get ready to take your next. And in theory, exhaling through the nose could slow that down. So I would suggest you go and have a little play with it. Maybe let us know how you get on and which one that you actually do yourself. But yeah, very observant. Thanks for that one. Next up, we have Almos Freina. How can you wear all those shoes without socks and not getting injured on your feet? Well, Almos, you have not seen any of our feet for very good reason. I am joking on that one, but I personally am not an advocate for running without socks, and I'd rather take that extra time to put my socks on. But Mark, for example, comes from the pro short distance racing where that was just normal for that level. You do not have time to put your socks on. So he has certainly experienced a lot of blisters and pain, and your feet will get hardened over time. So if you start to practice it, but it's very much a trade-off. Yes, in a draft legal race when you've got to be super quick for all of those transitions, you're going to save yourself some really important time. And if you are racing seriously over a sprint or an Olympic distance, then it could be worth it, those seconds you're saving. But is it going to be worth the pain on your feet at the end of the day? I guess it depends how soft your feet are and how much you care about them at the end of the day, and also how comfortable your trainers are. So there are a few things you can do to help with that comfort. If you've worn those shoes already, you might start to know where there's some little rubbing areas. You can put Vaseline on the shoes already, and you can also put talcum powder in them, which will just absorb some of that moisture, help your foot slide in more easily and reduce any friction. However, how much do you want to save those seconds? And I would say anything definitely more than Olympic, put socks on. I personally would at an Olympic level, because I guess I'm not that competitive, but putting socks on realistically, if you practice that, takes a very short amount of time. I would just say, yeah, experiment with it and just work out how much you're willing to sacrifice your feet for those few seconds. And even the pros will suffer from it and sometimes make the mistakes. I saw a post, I think just about a year ago, from Holly Lawrence when she did a 70.3 without socks. And let's just say her trainers were showing the signs of some pretty messy feet underneath them. And sometimes you just have to weigh up and go, is that really worth a few seconds if you can't then even train for the next few days? Yeah, I'll let you decide on that one. Okay, moving on away from feet now, we have Roberto Terenzi with this question. I noticed that during swim training, my heart rate increases a lot, and I also struggle more while swimming freestyle, using legs and arms, than when swimming freestyle with a pull buoy between my legs at a similar pace. Do you think I should just improve my kick? Well, Roberto, there's quite a lot going on there. To start with, a lot of people, you're in the normal category there, a lot of people find swimming with a pull buoy that much easier because it automatically puts your body position just that bit more horizontal, so you've got less drag coming from your legs and your hips, so automatically there's less effort to push you through the water. However, there's also on the other side, how hard are you kicking when you're using your legs? Because your legs are very large muscles, your quads and hamstrings are the larger muscles compared to your upper body, and they're automatically going to demand more oxygen, which is going to make you feel more out of breath. But then it comes back to the why do you need to kick so hard if you're swimming at the same pace? And that's probably down to your technique. So rather than actually working more on your leg kick, it's almost the opposite. You want to look at the front end of your stroke, so your head position, your catch, and how that is then affecting the position of your hips and your legs. And the pull buoy is kind of like the easy fix. So it just straight away puts you in that right position, but that isn't actually improving your stroke. So I would suggest working on some technique, doing some drills. Do check out our videos on catch and head position, and also more specifically the one on sinking legs, because it sounds like you're having to kick your legs really hard to make sure that they stay afloat. But the pull buoy will be tempting because yes, you say you're finding it easier. You need to actually be strong and make sure you don't reach for it every time, because you can become super reliant on it. And when it comes to a race, you're not going to have that pull buoy. Yes, you might have the assistance of a wetsuit if it's a cold water swim, but not necessarily always. So try to wean yourself away from the pull buoy and work on your technique. But good luck with that one. Yeah, I like the question. Okay, now we're moving on to Stefan Neal 23. And coming to my first 70.3 in 3 weeks' time. My left leg had ITB syndrome in February. I eventually got it better and implemented more prehab in my weekly training. When I run though, the left leg will start hurting around the hip and upper quads, making it concerning to continue. Should I do more strength training on that leg or try something else? Well, Stefan Neal, it's hard to know exactly what's going on. It sounds like you did get your ITB treated, but have you had any follow-up treatment? Because it's not something that you can necessarily just nip in the bud and then it's gone. If the pain has initially gone from it, you could still have underlying muscle weakness or muscle tightness, or a combination of both most likely, and that will lead to discomfort, especially in the hip area. So for those of you guys who are unsure when I'm talking about the ITB, it's basically a band of fascia, so sort of hard tissue that runs down the outside of your leg from your hip down to just beneath your knee. Well, it is a really tough band which you can't necessarily affect itself. It's more the muscles that surround it that you will be able to affect. So it'd be interesting to know what your prehab is. Hopefully that's included some glute activation, because it's often the glutes that will switch off quite early on when you have pain around there, and even though you became pain-free, they might still have just not been fully activated, and this could be affecting your running gait. So it might not even be the actual ITB itself that's giving you the pain, but it could be relating to something else not working properly. So if you can, get a gait analysis, and I would make sure you check your shoes are giving you the right support for your running gait. And as for doing strengthening, yes, but you probably don't want to be going crazy just before your race, or you might have even done your race by now. If so, let us know how you got on, and hopefully that pain is starting to subside. But if not, I would suggest going to see a professional to get that checked out and getting a full analysis so you know exactly what to work on rather than just trying the full wide scope. Well, that is it for this week's Coach's Corner. Hopefully you guys found those answers useful, and if there's something you've got burning, you know what to do, leave it in the comments section below. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Give us a like if so.